years. 8 long years. Can you believe that the Sigma 18-35 was announced way back in April of 2013? Take me back to better days, am I right? Just so you know, every ounce of delicious footage captured in this video that you're watching was shot on the Sigma 18-35. Even this shot. You know, recently I made the jump to my first ever full frame camera, the Sony a7S III. But before that, I spent 5 wonderful years with the likes of Micro Four Thirds, APS-C crop sensors, or Super 35 cameras. And all of them were able to mount up with the Sigma 18-35. Now that I'm a Sony simp, I don't use the 18-35 all that much because it's not a full frame lens. So I figured this video would be a wonderful chance for us to take a walk together down memory lane, revisit some old footage, some modern footage, and just enjoy our time together with this legendary little lens. Except it's not little, it's pretty heavy. The year is 2016. Hilary Duff was Queen of the USA, and I was at the very beginning of my camera career, shooting on the legendary Canon 70D. I had finally saved up enough cheddar to switch from dumbass kit lenses to the beloveded Sigma. After my first shoot with this Sigma 18-35 in this hot-ass garage, I finally understood the power of upgrading lenses versus upgrading camera bodies. Time passed and I outgrew my 70D jeans, so I had to convince my mom to get me some fresh khakis, aka the Panasonic GH4. Before, everybody was just trying to convince me, Zach, buy a Canon 5D Mark III. It's the best. But it was too expensive and it didn't work with the lenses that I already had. Finally, in my search for knowledge, I stumbled across one of the most legendary filmmaking channels on the tube, Andy Axe. He posted this controversial video comparing the 5D Mark III to, what is this? The Panasonic GH4? Don't they make microwaves, fridges? Idiot. No, they make cameras too. And not just any cameras. Cameras that I think had much more value and specs than the Canon ones. Sure, the Canon was full frame, but the GH4 had something that Canon couldn't offer. Something mounted to the front of the camera. Some voodoo magic technology called a speed booster. For a second, can we all just be honest with ourselves and admit that we have no idea what speed boosters are? All I'm saying is Elon Musk or somebody needs to keep an eye out on these speed boosters,
because there's some freaky shit going on there.
When Andy Axe presented the more affordable 4K shooting GH4 next to the HD shooting 5D Mark III, I knew I had to cop a GH4. And I knew I needed this voodoo shooting magic technology of a speed booster along with the Sigma 18-35. It was the perfect fit. Naturally, this hype carried through to the release of the Panasonic GH5. And side note, when I die someday, I really want one of you to comb through all of my videos and make a compilation of every time I've said GH5 or Sigma 18-35, because the amount of times I've said that is atrocious. The GH5 has a special place in my heart, and it always will. It was the first camera that I bought the moment it became available. I didn't even know I could save money. Nobody taught me I could do that. It was the closest feeling I've gotten to way back in September of 2007 when I waited in line for the midnight release of Halo 3 with my friend who was 18 because I couldn't even buy the game by myself because it was rated M. And the GH5 with the speed booster and the Sigma 18-35 is still a staple among filmmakers like you and me in modern day. Now let's look back at 2020. For some reason, I decided that I needed an arm workout for every single client job that I would ever shoot. So I purchased myself a Blackmagic Ursa G2. This was my first true Super 35 sensor camera that I owned, and seeing that the Ursa had an EF mount, the Sigma 18-35 was a perfect fit. This seemed like the end of the war, peace in our time. But a strong young prince was born in a distant land, the Fuji XT Forest. He gained strength quickly and just swept in to overthrow King Ursa, and he succeeded. I was but a pawn, enticed by the prince's specced out body and small price tag. I couldn't resist him. To me, the Fuji X-T4 camera we're shooting on right now was the love child of the Panasonic GH5 and the Blackmagic Ursa G2, and Hilary Duff agrees.
I recently bought a camera. She's kind of just been living there. I'm getting used to her.
It had all the great specs of the GH5, minus the beautiful IBIS, plus better low light performance and more beautiful colors similar to Blackmagic. And guess what? It has an APS-C sensor, a perfect fit once again for the Sigma 18-35. We shot music videos together, vlogs, and overall our relationship was wonderful. But last year when I became full-time with YouTube and my job on this channel, I knew it was finally time to give in and become a full-frame Sony simp, which brings us to modern day. So what makes the Sigma 18-35 so special? Why did I spend years choosing cameras that I knew would work with this lens, the 18-35? For starters, it's a super sharp lens, even at 1.8 maximum aperture, which goes all the way through that zoom range of 18-35. And it also didn't break the bank. It's an affordable lens, which is why I think so many of us picked it up when it came out and have just held on to it. And it's become this absolute workhorse of a lens for anyone that has a Micro Four Thirds, APS-C, or Super 35 sensor camera. And yeah, full frame is becoming more popular as the years progress, but you have to think in 2013 up until now, there have been so many crop sensor cameras, and the 18-35 is just begging to launch itself onto those lens mounts. The zoom range is perfect for wide to medium shots, it's a great low light lens, and the images look beautiful. But over time, I have noticed one major issue with the lens, and that's the ding-dang zoom ring rubber part on the outside. It gets stretchy over time. I've had to have mine replaced 2 times now. That's pretty much the only issue with the build quality. Other than that, it's an absolute tank, and if you've used it, you know it's a heavy lens, but it's built really well. And one thing that contributes to the heaviness of the lens is the fact that the zoom barrel is inside the lens body, so there's no extension like some of those dingy looking Canon lenses that protrude when you try to zoom. I don't like that. Since the lens is one big package, you can mount it on a gimbal and you don't have to rebalance when you're switching from 18-35, which means you can get a variety of different gimbal shots all with one lens, and you can do it fast because you don't have to rebalance. And for me, that's what this lens is all about. You can use it for a run and gun situation. It's fast, reliable, and it looks sexy. The images just look good. If for some reason you haven't heard of this lens and you have a crop sensor camera or Super 35 camera or a Micro Four Thirds camera, go get this lens. Don't put yourself in a bad financial situation, but you might be surprised at how much your images can improve if you're going from something like a Canon kit lens to an 18-35. This lens will forever be a special piece of gear for me, but at the end of the day, it's not really about the gear, is it? It's about what we make and the memories we make along the way with the people we work with while we're making. Feel free to subscribe or like, because one like is one prayer for this green screen. He needs it. He's been alone a lot. Trying to use him more. Love you, baby.